Andy, thank you so much for coming on to the Marvel of Horror. It's great to have you. Great to see you.
Yeah, man,
actually.
it's great to see you, man. It's been way too long.
So, what would you say like your first experience with like the horror genre is? Was it like a movie or a book? What got you hooked?
Yeah, so I mean, I think on my end, it's definitely like it was Theater Bizarre on like I think it was Channel 57. It was either Channel 57 or like Channel 17 out of Philly,
Okay.
and it was like Saturday afternoons. My parents would go off to do whatever, so they would drop like my brother and I at my grandmother's, and she would just be like, and she was the horror one. She was nuts for it, and it was like the gateway was Godzilla because the Theater Bizarre was like a double feature thing. So it was like the first movie would be Godzilla, and then the second one would be kind of all over the place. So like, yeah, it would start like on a Saturday afternoon with Nana in her chair behind us, like drilling like Capri 100s and Michelobes. And it would begin with like Godzilla or like, Godzilla versus the Thing or like, Mothra or, Monster Zero, one of those great ones.
Mm-hmm.
And then like, for whatever reason, whatever came next was like fair game. So I saw, it was edited for television, but I remember seeing The Hills Have Eyes.
Oh, wow.
At like age 4 or 5.
Okay.
And like, no bullshit if we're allowed to curse.
Yeah, you're fine.
Right? Yeah, so like.
Watch your fucking mouth.
Right. So like, I kid you not, we see The Hills Have Eyes, and then, like, and this is like, my grandmother lived in like kind of South Jersey before it became all like mansions and stuff. It was still like, it was her little like old lady development, and then it was just farms and woods and nothing. So we were like, we're coming home, we're driving back to the suburbs from this place, and my dad gets like a flat tire in the middle of what at that time in 1985 or whatever was still like deep dark country, at least to like myself. And I remember like just tears like streaming down my face, so scared because I had seen like The Hills Have Eyes.
Yeah.
And I was like, just like, I knew that like a flat tire starts that movie. Like I am like convinced.
Like it's not funny. But
Yeah,
it is
I'd say it's like the funniest thing ever. But yeah, I was convinced that like fucking Michael Berryman's gonna like come eat my dad because Nana let us watch The Hills Have Eyes, man.
Dude, it's so funny. Like parents. So we're right around the same age.
Yeah.
We kind of discussed, and it's funny how parents were like back in like the '80s, what they were and stuff. Like I have a funny story I'll tell with my brothers. It's kind of along the same. Not really. It's kind of along the same vein as that. So me and my brothers, I forget how old I was. I think I was probably like 4 or 5. My parents let us watch Terminator.
Right.
But we weren't allowed to watch it with the sound on. And we had to close our eyes during the Linda Hamilton sex scene.
Yeah.
So we're watching Terminator with no sound. We don't know what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
Like, is it that there's weird robots, but then there's like this guy, and it's like there's these weird flashbacks. We don't understand why they're happening.
Oh my god, that's
We
amazing.
just know there's this huge muscle-bound dude like just shooting people. And we're allowed to watch it.
Yeah.
And then he turns into like this scary ass like robot stop animation. What the fuck is going on in this movie?
It's so good.
So you're allowed to watch people get shot, but you couldn't hear people curse.
Yeah.
Couldn't watch Linda Hamilton's tits.
Yeah, that's, my grandmother was a horror person. My mom was totally cool with, like, it was pretty much anything goes with her. Like, she was big into horror and stuff, too. But, like, my dad, like, was not, and still isn't, but he was just very, like, he would get, like, grumpy about us watching, like, a Police Academy movie. But, like, De Palma's Untouchables or like Goodfellas, totally on the table.
Yeah.
Because it was like a quality movie. Like, I mean, in like the Untouchables, people are getting their fucking brains blown out like left and right. But like, that was De Palma, so that was cool. Like, Goodfellas, totally cool because it's like Scorsese. Like,
so my mom and dad were really cool, like the old school horror stuff.
Yeah.
Like my mom was big into Godzilla and King Kong was like her favorite movie. And yeah, it was the same thing. Like we were allowed to watch Jaws
Oh yeah.
And I can't tell you how many times, like, I don't know, I'm like 7 or 8 years old, and it's like Braddock Missing in Action 2, Chuck Norris, or like
Yeah.
Rambo 2, or
Yeah.
Commando. My dad's like, yeah, we can totally watch this. Predator.
Oh,
I think
yeah,
I was like
yeah.
a little kid when I watched Predator, and I'm like, oh my god, these people are getting like, this is like a scary movie to a
Yeah.
kid.
Yeah.
Guys like, skinned alive. But yeah, we weren't allowed to watch Nightmare on Elm Street 3. Like, we got caught watching it.
Yeah.
And that was back in the day when like getting a belt across your ass wasn't considered child abuse. It was just considered the norm.
Yeah.
And we got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he just happened to catch us at like the nurse scene.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's it. I remember getting yelled at for watching like Police. What's the one with in Miami? Like Operation Miami.
Oh,
Beach or
Police
whatever?
Academy 5.
Yeah. I remember like watching that, and he's just like, "What the hell?" Well, like it is like, turn it off, and it's like, well, we're also gonna watch we also just watch the Untouchables. Like, what's
Yeah. We were more than totally allowed to watch like Die Hard.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally.
But no, you were not allowed to watch any Friday the 13th movie.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I think they were like so concerned with like nudity, and I'm like, wait, but there is nudity in Die Hard. There is that one shot of the people having sex when the terrorists come.
Yeah.
So, what the hell?
Yeah, I think it's just that different like generation thing. I mean, it's like, I don't know, it's very classic America. You know what I mean? Like everybody's getting machine gunned left and right. That's cool, but like a tit, watch out! Like,
sitting there watching Airplane. Close your eyes. Close your eyes, that part. But yeah, pretty funny with the parenting 80s.
Oh yeah.
So you totally had to watch the good stuff when they weren't looking.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So, Clamfight, we were talking.
Yeah.
Working on a new album.
Yep.
Vocalist, drummer, Clamfight.
Yep.
Clamfight is a very, and I'm not just saying this because you're here, I've always thought this. Clamfight is a very fun, exciting band to watch.
Thanks,
You're
man.
very fun to watch drumming.
Thanks, man.
So, very intense on stage, very passionate. What is so do you think there's any kind of horror influence when it comes to Clamfight, like your writing?
So I mean, a little bit. I mean, because I read all the lyrics, and so there is a song on the second record called "Stealing the Ghost Horse" that's about Tombs of the Blind Dead.
Okay. Oh,
because
great
there's
movie.
that part where like the girl's escaping and she just steals like one of the zombie horses, and like rides off. And it was like years ago. A bunch of us were like kind of partying after a show, like watching that movie, and woke up. And woke up in the house is kind of in shambles and stuff, but the on a notepad was just scrawled like "stealing the ghost horse" in big letters from watching that the night before, and then that became like, I mean, we still play that song like I think it's one of our best tunes that we like. I mean, we were closing shows with it in New England like a month ago or something. Like so I mean, yeah, there's horrific stuff too. I mean, there's a couple of like survival cannibalism songs in some of the records. Like sort of like sea shanties gone wrong kind of thing, but like yeah, I mean in terms of like the horror stuff, it's really like it's not as strong, but it's
still kind of there.
Yeah,
I mean it's like that. I don't know. There's always that. To me, there's always that connection with like horror and metal.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, it's almost like the like in the '80s they had the kind of rock and wrestling connection. It's always like that horror metal connection even back then. It's cool to hear because I used to do the same thing when I was in Black Hand. I wrote the lyrics. It was very hard, but I always used like horror movies and stuff to write. So you guys are working on your new record. You're thinking mid-June? Can you say anything?
Well,
about
I mean,
it?
I can say that I think that we'll have it probably in hand, like mixed and mastered, pretty soon. I mean, we've kind of talked to a few people about putting it out. So I still think we're probably at best. I don't even say, but because I always anytime I ever give a deadline on band stuff, it gets shattered immediately. So I'm not gonna jinx ourselves like that. But I think that for the first time, like we can say definitively, like you're gonna hear it sooner than later. But I don't want to throw any actual dates on it because we'll just destroy it. We'll blow past the dates, and it'll be another 7 years before the thing comes out. So
we'll see because I'm not sure when this episode will air.
Yeah,
but I hope it hope it airs like closer. Have you guys been playing any of the songs like live at your shows
Yeah,
recently?
yeah, we have. So I mean, we've like we're back. Essentially we're back. I mean, we are all we're all old. Capital J jobs. Two of us are married. I've been with the same gal for a long time, and it's amazing. Our rhythm guitar player Joel has two amazing, beautiful sons. So like, we are all like, it's not kind of like the old days, but we've pulled two weekenders in the last like couple of months, and we're about to do a big southern weekender. So I mean, we're still out there. It's just we concentrate the shows in these like 2 and 3 show in a row bursts, and then we don't do anything for another month and kind of go quiet.
Well, like you said, that's the way you got to do it. You know what I mean? With everything going on, I think like Corey was kind of doing the same with like Wasted Theory and like Cobra Whip, and he's got two amazing kids. And I mean, I figured if I ever had to do it, obviously I know that world now. I'm in that world with kids and stuff. You can't just you can't just go like, all right, I'm leaving for a week.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. I mean,
you can, but
yeah,
the outcome's not going to be good in the home.
No, it isn't. And I mean, like, also to an extent, I mean, we've just we've been around long enough too, I think, to see bands that we were tight with like come back from some really shitty tour where they were like sleeping in a Walmart parking lot and they just burn out and break up. So with this stuff, I mean, a weekend together like is awesome. Like it's just an absolute blast, like start to finish. And then, it's like back to real life and stuff. So I mean, that's kind of how we roll with it.
Well, that's cool. You guys been together since 2002?
Yeah. We started playing shows in 2005, and we all had kind of like our fire hall hardcore band even before that.
Okay.
So I mean, I think the first time that Lewis and Joel and I played together, we were probably 14 or 15.
Wow.
And we're all 43. And then Sean joined the fold when we were like 17.
Still, it's fucking impressive, man.
I mean, it's absolute brotherhood shit at this point. It's real family stuff. Like we've really done all the good stuff and all the bad stuff together at this point. Like we've just there's been we've done the marriages, we've done the deaths, we've done all like the really now we've got, like I said, we've got Joel's like just glorious kids. So I mean, like it's a real like family thing with us.
It's fucking cool, man. Joel, congratulations, sir.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, like I said, we've got incredibly supportive like wives and partners, which has been helpful. And we're all, I think, kind of boring. So like that, like
I find that hard to believe, man.
Well, let's put it this way: we've dodged like the hard drug bullet. You know what I mean? Like
so backstage things weren't falling apart.
Yeah, exactly. Like don't get me wrong. Yeah, don't get me wrong. We have a good time. We party, but like, yeah, we don't have the kind of like big shitty things that I've seen tear like bands apart. We've been really lucky like that. So
you guys are just really into music. You guys are really into heavy music, and that's just like you can feel it, you can fucking sense it. Like you guys write great stuff. Your shows are always awesome. You're always fun to be around and play. You guys generally love what you do.
Yeah.
So I've seen you play, man. Yeah, and like as fun as it is, I'm like, man, dude. I do get sore like watching you play. If anyone's never seen Clamfight, they really have to, man. No exaggeration, you beat the fucking shit out of those drums. Like I love it. Like it's great. So it's like I said, it's cool. But yeah, you're fucking pounding away, man. I'm like, yeah, he's gotta be feeling that. Like the next.
Yeah,
do you stretch? Do you do Pilates?
No, I should. Except that that's the thing. I mean, like, believe me, I'm spending a bit more time behind a desk these days, so it's finally starting to catch up to me. And I'm like, oh, all right, I need some sort of a fitness thing in my life because things are hurting. I went to an amazing hardcore show Friday night in Philly. I saw Jesus Piece, who are Philly heroes and just absolutely fucking incredible. So I went to the Jesus Piece like record release show, and like 30 seconds into the first song, kid like comes across the stage and just leaps off, and I catch this stage diver, and it's like, man, it took like a day or two to catch up with me, but like it just felt like a knife in my back. Like I'm just like, oh yeah, like yeah, 43 is no joke.
I got my lesson of like you're too old and you ain't doing pits. I think at like 30.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got buried literally buried
Oh God.
underneath a Life of Agony
Oh God.
pit. Like the Life of Agony stopped playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was bad. I had so I was working, and it looked like I got the shit beat out of me because I kind of did.
Yeah.
I had this shoe print,
Oh.
like my forehead just went and in, like you could just see the print of the heel of the person who just walked up and like kicked me in the face when I was like on the ground. I lost a shoe.
Oh my God.
And it's like, yeah, and I love Life of Agony, but every time I hear him,
Yeah.
it's like I remember that.
You have Life of Agony PTSD. That's amazing. I love it.
LOAPT.
That's incredible.
I gotta ask, what is, if you have one, your top John Carpenter film?
I mean, it's The Thing, like hands down. And I think, the Carpenter stuff is on pretty constant rotation in our house. And I mean, and the thing is up there with, like, for me, with like Jaws and Aliens and Predator, in terms of like movies that I have watched so much that they are like, and like Dawn of the Dead, that are like just they're part of my DNA.
Same here. Like John Carpenter. So, like my favorite John Carpenter film is like Halloween.
Yeah,
because it's like it's in like my top 5. But John Carpenter's Thing has always been in my top 5, and it's always a movie I watch at least once a year.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, The Thing is almost, for me, I mean, like it's almost on that like comfort food list for me.
Yeah.
If I'm like kind of having a bad week or whatever, like The Thing just makes me, for a movie that's as harrowing and still like scary as it can be, like.
Still scary, and like I said, watching John Carpenter's The Thing immediately takes me back to, like, I remember seeing it when I was a kid, but like when I was in high school and I actually had a part-time job and I was like actually able to buy VHSs and have my own stuff. That was like one of the first VHSs I bought, so I was always like watching it in heavy rotation, and it just takes me back to a carefree time in my life, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and that's legit, because I think that there's that list of movies that like I love so much and haven't like that list of movies I've seen like 75 times. It's not getting added to now, even though there's a lot of stuff that I absolutely love. Mm-hmm. But it's like, well, hey man, now I'm 43 with a job. I just can't watch The Thing every night. Yeah, like I did, or like, I mean, yeah, like Dawn of the Dead. I mean, good God, I must have watched that, like, just not like Evil Dead.
Dead, for me, Evil Dead, Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh yeah,
I mean, that's not really horror, but maybe a little. It's got some kind of like fantasy elements in there. That's one movie that's like, I can just debate them.
Oh yeah, and that's another one of those too, where it's just like I can, again, if I'm like cranky or whatever, like that movie can put me in a good mood. I mean, that was so my thing with the Carpenter ranking, like where I cheat a little bit is I don't. Like I put Halloween off to one side because it's so like defined a genre that I almost I cheat and I'm like, well, that doesn't really count because it's too big.
Yeah.
Like it's just over on, like, it's like he kind of not that he invented the slasher, but he kind of does.
Kind of does, but it's also like now it's like Halloween's just so part of a giant franchise.
Yeah.
You just kind of like put it off to over here.
Yeah.
I can agree with that.
So that's why, I mean, for me, it becomes then like, it's easier for me to be like, all right, well, The Thing is it. And then for me, the second one, which hit me kind of recently when we were watching it, is Big Trouble in Little China. Like, I just think it's like the most epic thing that Carpenter's ever done.
It's so good. And like, it's one of those movies where like when it came out, I don't know, like it just didn't get like a real good like reception, I think. And I'm like, why? This movie's amazing.
Oh yeah, I mean, I love that since I was like a kid. Like I think I taped it off of HBO or something. It was just like, well, there's a monkey and there's karate fights and there's
got everything.
Like, this is the greatest movie I've ever seen.
It's it's also the main reason why we have Mortal Kombat.
Oh yeah,
I mean, we can come on now. But no, I remember seeing that movie. When I was a kid, and I was like, man, what is this?
Yeah,
it's that guy from Overboard. And why is he talking like John Wayne? I don't care. I love it.
Yeah. God, it's so great.
No horseshit, Mike.
Yeah, no horseshit. Oh man. Yeah, there's so side story for a long time. All right, I did archaeology in the UK like in the summers, and so like that was on the list of like so the beginning and opening like the opening and closings of that season because we were covering the whole site up with like tarps and tires and stuff in these like hellish conditions in like northern Scotland. Like it was always like we would have like movies that I would spring on everybody kind of as like team building stuff and like it's stuff like Aliens and Predator.
Yeah.
Just when like you're completely wrecked from a real hard day of physical labor, it's just like you're gonna drink 1,000,000 beers, pack a dozen people in a room, and you're gonna watch Aliens or Predator. And like the one year it was Big Trouble in Little China, and I just had the best memories of like looking across the site and just being like no horse shit, and somebody like no horse, and just like giving that across the site. Like it's like one of the best archaeological sites in the world, and we're just quoting John Carpenter like to each other. Like, goddamn, loved it.
Me and my buddy Justin and an old like I haven't seen him in a while, but old friend Dan. It was always like that. We're always just like, well, really shook the pillars of the did we, Wang?
I know.
No horseshit, Jack.
I know.
Hollow bucket. Fucking dude, I love that movie.
Yeah.
We have you ever been to the Mahoning Drive-In?
Yeah, I haven't yet, which is I know like a great screw up on my part.
Well, it's one of those things where like I think now a lot of people have caught on.
Yeah.
So it's probably like really mobbed. Like
Yeah.
before it wasn't really. But a couple of years ago, pre-pandemic, we went and saw they had a John every year I think they might even have it. They have like a John Carpenter weekend.
That's great.
It's great. The only thing is it starts like really late because the sun's got to go down.
Yeah.
So like, it's literally 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're watching Big Jump on Little China on this big drive-in. I mean, that's fucking cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, we saw it in an actual drive-in a couple of years ago at the Mahoning Drive-In.
That's awesome.
It's super cool. And I think right before that it was I want to say it was John Carpenter's Vampires, The Thing, Big Trouble in Little China. And John Carpenter's Vampires is I still love it.
Yeah, I've always been
it's
kind
not
of
my favorite, but it's like it's still I don't know, I still love it. It's still that's a movie that could put me in a good mood because how ridiculous it is.
Yeah, I got it. That's one I need to revisit. I remember like seeing it in the theater, being so stoked for it, and then kind of coming out of the theater like how come all the action scenes are montages? Like, that kind of which is weird because he also sort of does that in Ghost of Mars, but I love Ghost of Mars. Like,
I've never seen Ghost of Mars. I'll have to put that on my list.
Yeah, Ghost of Mars I love. I never saw his last one. I never saw like The Asylum, but
I never saw that either.
Yeah, I heard kind of mixed things, but
well, so it was never one of my favorites, but now it kind of is. Like now I've noticed it's like getting more heavier in my rotation, and that's The Fog.
Oh, dude,
I always liked it, but it's just one of the, over the past couple of years. I'm really watching The Fog more and more as the years go. That's like a gem.
Oh, dude, I love The Fog. Like we when we were in college, I went to college at like the Jersey Shore, and like those towns empty out totally like after like Labor Day. So it was like we were like one of like 2 occupied houses on the block, like a block off the beach. Like you could like hear the waves, and we just used to get stoned and watch The Fog.
That sounds fucking
scared the shit out of ourselves.
That sounds awesome.
Like just like idiot kids like, oh man, the pirate ghosts are coming. Like
it's a great movie. Like even the just the beginning solid. Like where he's telling the story.
I love it.
Man, that sounds fucking cool. And that's like, man, where were those? Where was that Boy Scout shit?
I was gonna say. You're a father now. Are you gonna let your little Victor go to like the beach, like with a weird old guy in the middle of the night to hear haunted tales?
No. I might be the guy.
Yeah, that's legit.
Trust me.
Yeah, we're talking about a little bit of that 80s parenting where it's just like, oh, hey, well, there's an old sea captain. He can take my kid and all the other boys to the beach.
Yeah, sure. Where no one's there and no one can watch. But you better not be talking about boobs. Better be talking about ghosts. Scary shit out of these kids.
Leopard ghosts.
Leopard ghosts coming out of the fucking sea.
Love it.
I did watch Critters 3 in preparation for this.
I'm so sorry about that.
No, it's okay. I had to see it at least once. Every movie I feel like, well, except for maybe a Serbian film, every movie you got to see at least once.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of glad I missed that one. Like,
Anyway, Critters 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we were talking actually about Evil Dead Rise.
Yeah.
I don't have any Evil Dead Rise swag. It's still kind of a new movie, but I thought it only fitting to bring out my Evil Dead stuff. I brought out my Ash statue because Bruce Campbell, who you may know from such appearances as that last 20 seconds in Darkman. Oh, and he's in Evil Dead. He's the executive producer of Evil Dead Rise. So I watched it. What are your thoughts on Evil Dead Rise before I go into it?
So, I mean,
strictly honest here.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, look, I got a little overexcited going into it because of some of the reviews, which I think was a little foolish on my part. I'll say that I actually like it a hell of a lot more than the remake.
Really?
Yeah. But again, I still think it makes a lot of the same mistakes that the remake makes. I think that, like, again, there's some really great stuff in it, but I think it. All right, so we have the technology. All right, we got the digital ability to like have Evil Dead Mom like running around on the ceiling and stuff like that. But I think the problem with it is that they were never able to do that in the original 3 Evil Dead movies. You know, there was some wire work, but there was never like people like scrabbling across the ceiling.
Yeah.
And I think so when you do that, it just kind of becomes yet another like possession movie.
I would agree with that. And I also think so it's kind of what you said kind of like makes me think of like the Star Wars prequels. Like
Exactly.
The Star Wars prequels, they happened before
Yeah.
the Star Wars, like they happened before episode 4, 5, and 6, but everything is newer.
Yep.
They have more advanced stuff than they do in these movies, and especially, and I'm not like knocking Star Wars. I like Star Wars movies a lot, stuff like that. But if the Jedi never fought and moved like that.
Yeah.
Now
exactly.
you kind of are making them. So like it kind of goes and if you're not keeping with like the continuity of the films, and you're right about like they're doing a lot of the same kind of possession stuff in all these movies.
Yeah.
Like, I don't ever want to see another possession movie where the person possessed is like doing the spider crab walk.
Exactly.
Because they do it all the time now. It's like this one trick like pony thing they've like fallen into.
Yeah.
I'm kind of with you. Like I didn't hate it. Yeah. I enjoyed it, but I wasn't my expectations were pretty low.
Yeah.
Going into it. And I also understand that I guess it was going to be, I think it was going to be like streamed to Hulu or something like that. But then they kind of did, they aired it for test audiences and they liked it. So they're like, oh, we'll just put it out in the theater. Because it did kind of have that, I could see it being like a streaming movie versus a theatrical movie.
Yeah.
Like while I was watching it.
Yeah.
I mean, a couple good points about Evil Dead Rise. Spoilers, everyone, if you haven't seen it. I do like how they use the term, this is the 3rd volume, right?
Yeah.
So that kind of like, okay, we're not in the same universe as like this Necronomicon. I kind of like that because that kind of gives them a way to like, okay, now we can do more with staying away from that.
Yeah.
I didn't really like how, I understand they're in an apartment building, but like a lot of the kills that happen like off screen.
Yeah, that bugged the hell out of me.
Yeah, right? Okay,
Yeah.
So I'm not alone there.
And so it's that too, and that's kind of like how the whole Critters 3 thing started for me too. It's just that like, I remember sitting there in the theater watching it, and like when they introduced all the cannon fodder neighbors.
Yeah.
I remember
you knew we were going to die.
Yeah, you
right off the bat.
You knew you were going to die, but like, look, Critters 3 is like not a good movie, but I felt like watching Critters 3, like, and it hit me like watching Evil Dead. It was just like, wait a minute, like I think Critters 3 did a better job introducing and making the other people in the apartment buildings like rounded characters.
That I will
like,
say.
They had relationships, like, you have like the weird like mail lady, you've got like the old lady with the laundry, the sleazy repairman, all those guys like that. Like, I thought they felt more like actual characters than the neighbors that stop in for like 2 seconds in Evil Dead, and you're like, well, who are these people?
I knew right away that, okay, these people are all going to get it.
Yeah.
And, you know what I mean? And that's, you don't even really see them get it
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what you kind of came to see. And then they kind of get like possessed. It's just, I don't know, like you said, Critters 3 did a way better job of actually making the people in the apartment building a part of the movie versus these people.
And I think too. So I do think Evil Dead Rise is a little better about it than the remake, but I think there's a thing where like I don't know if it's like sort of like a lack of subtlety on sort of the part of the filmmakers, which I don't, that could be rude. I don't mean to be a dick about that, but I don't know if it's studio executives sort of thinking people are stupid, but like I think there's a thing where like that apartment building is so obviously like fucked up and haunted and evil. Like from the first time you see it, like it's like this is the evil apartment building. Like, I mean, it's, don't get me wrong. I mean, like I feel like Del Toro's Mimic has like everything's kind of wet in that one, or like Seven, but like also Evil Dead Rise is not Mimic or Seven. So like, but like it's the same thing like with the like the cabin in the remake. The cabin in the remake is so obviously this like hideously evil cabin. Like, it's like no one's walking in here and staying in this place.
Nah, you're right. You're right. Like going, kind of making like your point, like with Seven and Mimic, it works because they fit the general like tone of the movie.
Yeah.
Like the way those movies are shot,
they
just look like depressing and sad. Like everything looks like depressing and sad. And
or like The Crow.
Or The Crow. Yeah, exactly.
Like everything looks like that.
Yeah, this is just like, okay, here's everything going on. We were just at a cabin where it was like bright and sunny. It was like this sore thumb, like haunted, fucking H.P. Lovecraft apartment building.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. It's totally like
definitely something is buried underneath this building. It looks like it's creepier than the fucking Ghostbusters building.
Yeah, and that's it. Like, and I think for me at least,
it's definitely the Tobin Spirit go.
Yeah, it knocks me out of it a little bit when it's just like this is like this, when this place is just screaming at you like this is an evil place. And again, I mean, I think there's again one of the strengths of Critters 3, I think is that like it's just it's like a rundown crappy apartment that they're all like getting forced out of or whatever, but like it does look like a place where human beings would live.
It does.
It doesn't look like a Disney World like haunted apartment building.
They set the stage of, okay, it's a rundown apartment building. These are like lower class working families who, probably are staying here. And they already have like a shittier maintenance. They already tell the story like the maintenance guy is working with the owner of the building to literally run them out. And he's like, okay, we know we have rats. We're going to keep them. So you leave.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think I'm turning around on Critters 3, man.
If I accomplish nothing else tonight, I want to change some minds on Critters 3.
Man, Critters 3, it was actually written well. It gave Leonardo DiCaprio a job. I have to revisit it.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, as we were talking about earlier, you got that you do have that whole like 10-minute thing in the beginning where they give you the recap of Critters 1, which is obviously the best Critters movie, and then Critters 2, but still.
But then again, if we're gonna criticize negatively Critters 3, then we gotta do like every Rocky movie that way, because every Rocky movie is like, oh, you didn't see what happened in Rocky 1? Here you go.
Oh yeah. Or it's like Silent Deadly Night 2, where like there's like 35 minutes of new footage and everything else is just, and like I haven't seen it in years, but like Hills Have Eyes 2, you know what I mean, where it's like you get like the dog has a flashback in Hills Have Eyes 2, you know what I mean, like. Yeah, so I mean, Critters 3 definitely. Oh, actually, what the hell? We watched one of the Puppet Masters recently that did the same thing.
Oh man,
it might be Puppet Master 2. I think it's 2, where they give you like a lot of the first movie. Like
it probably is. That sounds about right, because it's been a while. But like, it's gonna say Puppet Master. Yeah, I hope they do that, because there's like 30.
Yeah, there's a million. There's a lot of different Puppet Master timelines and stuff. But
like man. I feel like every time I turn, like even Critters, I was like, man, there's this many Critters movies?
Oh, yeah. Well, for years as a kid, like, I remember Critters 3 was the one that I couldn't find. Like, my hometown video store had 1, and it had 2, and it had Critters 4, where they're in space.
Oh, wow.
Which I kind of like, which I also kind of love because Charlie the janitor is still in Critters 4, and he's in space, and they don't really like explain if like he's like lived a long time because of like alien technology or whatever, or just like if there's like a massive leap in human technology in like the late 90s that gets everybody like interstellar. It's great. I love it. Like it,
I'm gonna go with technology only because, like, I mean, obviously, in the distant future of 1997, it's when
Yeah.
Skynet becomes self-aware.
Yeah, and it's just a killer. Like we were promised like such a golden future from like Critters 4, like,
with all those movies.
Yeah.
Like, it's what was the thing that was going on the other? What was it, a couple years ago? I was like, yeah, I'm still waiting for my hoverboard.
Oh yeah, hoverboards. There were like moon prisons. Like all this like amazing sci-fi shit. Like that's like only a couple years from now, and all we've got is no more winter. Like that's the future we've got.
I was waiting for like the little Pizza Huts that you put in the microwave and like Back to the Future 2, and then they become full pizzas. Instead, we just got no more pizza.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's it. We just have like sort of the decline of the living wage.
Yeah.
And we don't have cool asteroid jobs.
You put that meme out. You put the meme out the other day. I saw it, and it was like writers going out of business, but robots writing poetry is not the future I imagined.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, he's right.
Yeah, it's just so much dumber. Like it's just such a dumber future. It's like, oh man, like it's like, how are you gonna make the actual fucking future dumber than Critters 4? Like, congratulations, humanity. Good one.
Yeah, I think Idiocracy is not a comedy. It's a documentary. It's a documentary. I'm still waiting. You know what I think? I don't know. So me and you and a selected few would probably be the only guys who would really appreciate it. But are you still holding out for Critters versus Ghoulies?
Oh man, if only. Yeah, I mean, I gotta give it to probably the Critters win just by their like fast breeding.
I'm definitely going to give it to the Critters to win that fight, but I would love to see that movie.
Oh yeah.
If anyone's listening.
I mean, I think like to an extent. I mean, with all the streaming contraction stuff that's happening right now, we'll see how it goes. But they're like, at the same time, it just feels like if you get enough of like a nostalgia bump for something like that, you can get they'll dig up. I mean, I haven't watched a Ghoulies movie in quite some time, but like they'll dig up, it'll be whoever is the Laurie Strode of like the Ghoulies franchise will have to appear to fight the Ghoulies again, and yeah.
That's what I mean. I figured people would be all over that.
Wasn't that like a Critters TV show?
I want to say you're right.
I never saw it, but I thought there was like a Critters series that streamed somewhere.
I want to say that is correct, but don't quote me. We'll have to leave your comments in the comment section if you know anything about the show or where we can find it.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, Critters 1 is a really good movie. That is something they could do. They could do another like rated R version of Critters and really do something with.
Yeah, I mean, Critters, and that's another one of those that like, I mean, it didn't scare me as a kid, but it left a mark. You know what I mean? Like I can remember like the exact circumstances of like, I don't know, my parents were going somewhere on a Saturday night. Like it's like, all right, here's Domino's, and you can rent any movie, and we rented Critters, and it was like, this movie fucking rules.
My dad was friends with a guy named, they called him Chopper Dan. Danny Jackson, Chopper Dan. And he had two daughters that were like my brother's age. My brothers are like 5 and 6 years older. And he would go there to hang out with his buddy, crush some beers.
Yeah.
And it was always Saturday night. So yeah, there was always like movies on. So Critters was one of those movies we got to watch over there. So I remember like being a kid and like, man, these things are like shooting spikes at people.
Oh yeah,
really like terrorizing people. This is really it's still really good.
A movie that traumatized me as a kid that I haven't yet had a chance to really go back and revisit was definitely Manhunter.
Yeah,
like the Michael Mann, like Tom Noonan.
Tom Noonan,
Cox,
man, creepy fucking dude.
Yeah,
it's about everything he's in.
Yeah, yeah. It's just, I mean, like he's just so like beautifully still with his stuff. You know what I mean? Like he's like I don't know. He's just he can be so creepy with doing so little. Like he's one of those guys that just like, he's such a physical actor but in the opposite way, he's not like throwing chairs around the room. It's just like the way he carries himself. You know, the
Yeah,
subtle movements are so scary.
he's in a really good movie. It's one of those movies. It's a slow burn. It doesn't really pick up until the end, but it's I think it's House of the Devil.
Yeah,
It's a great movie.
yeah. I've only seen that once, but I remember like loving it.
Yeah, he's he's creepy guy. Like, no, I would not accept a job from you. Are you kidding?
Yeah, I know,
Look
right?
at you, man.
Yeah. No, I will not be an attractive babysitter in your house.
Yeah, another. Oh, you mean this ominous, like creepy fucking house? You want me to sit in it all night? You'll pay me how much?
Yeah.
Nah, it's gotta be a catch.
Local hero Ty West, man.
Yeah, right. He's Ty West. He did
X and Pearl and
X and Pearl, but did he do stuff for the VHS movies too?
I'm not sure if he did. I know he did. He did the movie with the bats, The Roost. That was his first movie, and Tom Noonan is in that for like a little bit.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
Put that part of my list.
Yeah.
Ty West, local. Is he from Philly?
I think he's Westchester. I think.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, he's Southeast PA. I thought.
I saw X. I haven't got a chance to see Pearl yet.
Dude, Pearl. I mean, X was great. I loved X. Saw it in the theater in Philly, and it just like it played like a rock show. You know, like it was great. That was a great moment. I mean, again, pandemic fucked us all up. Like, I certainly appreciate live music and going to the movies a lot more than I think I did.
Yeah.
But X was definitely one that like we saw in a theater in Philly. There were like a lot of college kids in there, and they were screaming, when like various horrible things happened. Like they were laughing. It was just a really great like theater experience. And then I think I was on the road a bunch for work when Pearl came out, so we didn't get a chance to see Pearl in the theater, but finally caught it at home. And I think Pearl might be an all-timer.
Yeah.
Like, ask me again in like a decade, but I think Pearl might be something that people are talking about in like 30 years.
No shit.
Yeah, I think it's potentially that good. Like, again, I've only watched it once. Might have been kind of stoned, but like I really like. I think that it's just one that's going to endure.
Speaking of like Hollywood exorcist movies, going back to it, I watched The Pope's Exorcist. And it's, like I said, it's just the same shit. Like, the actual, spoilers, the story's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, why they're in this house, and why this demon has chosen this priest to, like, target through this vessel of this boy. Like, I thought all that was, like, pretty cool. But then, just towards the end, it became... I felt like I was watching a fucking Marvel movie. Yeah.
I heard it's nuts. I haven't seen it. I mean, that's like my mileage with possession movies, like, just really, I just don't have it. Like, I'm just like like The Exorcist. It's just the one.
Yeah.
And I don't kind of need anything more other than Exorcist 3, which I love.
Yes.
But, like, I don't.
Very underrated movie.
Oh yeah. That movie rules. But yeah, I don't know. It just, like, for me, the possession stuff, and that was another thing that I didn't like about Evil Dead Rise, was bringing Catholic priests into the mix, even though they're just kind of on audio. Like, I always liked that the whole Deadite thing, the Kandarian demon thing, was supposed to be sort of like this pre-Christian, like pre-Abrahamic faith thing, which I loved. And I think that when you start mixing it up with, like, it just becomes yet another Exorcist movie if you just mix it up with the Catholic Church.
Yeah, and like you said, I completely agree. It's like that was cool about the whole Evil Dead, like 1 and 2. I mean, Army of Darkness obviously kind of becomes more like a comedy. But yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with like the Christian religion. It's all about, like you said, this older kind of old like Samaritan kind of fucking shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like real cool, and I don't know. Like, I want to see where they're going to go with it.
Oh yeah.
But I'm not sure if they'll ever like kind of get it back to what it was. Like, that's like, I actually really enjoyed the remake, and I liked how the remake was kind of like, hey, we don't have an Ash character, so we're gonna kind of bring it back to just like old school in your fucking face horror, like the first one kind of was trying to be. If I had one criticism of the Evil Dead remake, I really wish they would put out a cut where when it starts like raining blood, if they would just put Slayer, Rain
Just go
Blood
straight-
in there.
Straight Slayer.
Just yeah, because it's just so perfect. Like
Yeah.
if they would just edit the movie to have that in there,
Yeah.
like the movie would be like that much better.
So I watched the remake like just a week ago, like or maybe 2 weeks ago, because like I had seen Rise and we were talking about this, and I was thinking like, well, I got to go back and watch a remake and see what I think about it now, because I hadn't seen it in a couple of years, and like a couple of weird things with that. Like I remember hating the score, so obviously Slayer could have improved it, but like
Yeah.
when I went back and watched it again, I was like, this is not Evil Dead music. Like this is terrible music, and I think again like the parts of the remake that work the best for me, like when the girl cuts her arm off, is glorious, and like, and that to me, and it was kind of a similar thing with Rise. Like, both those movies have parts that actually feel like an Evil Dead movie,
Yeah.
but you got to wade through a lot of stuff that feels like every other horror movie to get to those parts, and I think that's what kind of killed me about it. And I think that ratio in Rise is a little bit better, at least for me. But I think with the remake again, I mean, there's a couple parts that are great and that feel like Evil Dead, but I think there is that like even the first Evil Dead, as much as I love it, and I think it's almost just accidental lightning in a bottle stuff. Like,
Yeah.
as harrowing as the original Evil Dead can be, like you kind of still feel the fun in it. Like you kind of it's still just kind of, even if it's an accident, like it's fun.
Yeah.
And I think that like when they get too serious on like the Evil Dead remake, like with the whole like she's trying to kick heroin bullshit subplot, like I thought it was like, I think you're taking the fun out of it, and it just doesn't feel like an Evil Dead movie for me anymore. Like it just feels too fucking serious. Like,
Yeah. I can agree with that to an extent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I definitely think Evil Dead Rise has more of that fun.
Yeah.
To talk about. Like I think they do try to like play around with it being like an Evil Dead movie, more like Evil Dead 2.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
But my friend Brian, can't wait till you come on the show, buddy. He won't watch Evil Dead, but he refuses. He will not watch this Evil Dead remake.
Right.
He will not watch it. If it ain't Evil Dead 1, 2, or Army of Darkness, he's like, it ain't a fucking Evil Dead movie. I ain't watched it.
Dude, so I mean, I was similar. I resisted the remake until like 2 years ago. Like I held out because I loved the first three so much. Like I held out for like years and years and years, and just saw. I don't know. I think I lurk in some like kind of horrible like neckbeard horror movie group on Facebook, and like I just saw all the like it was just people talking it up, and then I got another good buddy of mine who I talk horror with a lot, and my buddy kind of vouched for it. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna watch. And I was like on the road for work, and I was just like sitting in a hotel room, and I like, just whipped it up on Amazon, and I was just like, all right, well, And again, like I liked it better the second time, but it's still like you got to wade through a lot of stuff to me that doesn't feel like Evil Dead to get to those like beautiful. And again, like the arm chop is horrific and amazing. Like that's great. Like
I think the arm chop is great, but I still think my favorite scene in that movie is the split tongue with the knife. I think that's my favorite.
Yeah.
Like I said, when it starts, like I don't really mind the seriousness of it, because I kind of feel like that's what the first Evil Dead like wanted to do originally. Even though it, like you said, lighting a bottle, it still is a lot of fun. Like I love the first Evil Dead.
Yeah.
Came out the year I was born.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like I don't know, the remakes, especially with like this Evil Dead movie, I try and go into it thinking like it's never gonna be that movie.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give it like I'm gonna let it go and see and try and watch it objectively and not compare it. And sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. Like definitely not one of the worst. I mean, like I really enjoy it, but when I think when I think awful remakes, I think of movies like the Fog remake.
I never even saw.
Man, don't.
Yeah, that's
please,
too.
Please don't.
Yeah, no thanks. Like, yeah, that's it. I think there's some, and again, that's why it took me so long with Evil Dead, because I love those originals so much. If I like,
Yeah.
there's, if it's a movie that's near and dear to me, like I am either like I'm just gonna hate the remake. Like it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like the director could like my car could break down on the side of the road. The director could fix my fucking car, and like I'd still probably hate the remake. Like I just, you know.
Earlier we were talking about Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah.
And they were talking about remaking that with The Rock, and I was like, I will never fucking support that.
No, God no.
And I got nothing against The Rock. There's a lot
Yeah.
of movies The Rock's in I enjoy for what they are, but you're never going to remake that movie.
Yeah.
And it's never going to be fucking good, no matter
Yeah.
how much like money or star power
never.
whatever you put into it. That's just like it's just a fucking diamond and it's perfect.
Yeah, you're not gonna, and that's legit. And I think like so, this is a thing that a thought that kind of hit me is that like, for my money, like the best non-original 3 Evil Dead movie is Cabin Fever, like the original Cabin Fever, because that
Never seen it.
Oh man, so that to me,
I've been meaning to watch it.
I never saw the remake. I'm sure that's terrible, but
I hear it's terrible.
But like the original one, I think just is so. It's got that Evil Dead vibe. Like it's just got that it's got that kind of DIY feeling, and it's gory and it's horrific, but it's also like funny. Like it's just got that right tone that I think that like neither of the 2 new Evil Deads really nail.
Yeah, I mean, them like a lot of modern horror stuff. It's definitely like missing something. I just always feel like anymore they're missing something.
Yeah.
I don't really feel like they know how to end horror movies properly anymore either. You get that sense?
Yeah, I'm just a snobby dickhead, and I just don't watch a lot of new stuff. Like I need unless
you are a passionate individual with taste. That's what it is.
It's kind of like it's like this. If it's not a director who I already like and trust, like I'm not, and it's not fair because I'm sure I'm missing out on plenty of good stuff. But like I need like 40 people I trust to sign off on something before I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I need like this jury of my peers to be like, oh hey man, go see this movie or that movie, and then I'll be like, all right, and then I'll watch it and like, maybe I like it, maybe I don't.
Well, like going back, like what we were talking about earlier about like time. There's so much time now that you don't have, and time as you get older is your currency.
Yeah.
Yeah, like some of this stuff, it's like fucking 2.5 hours I'll never get back.
Yeah, I mean that's a big problem. I mean a lot of the stuff is too long. Like I'm just not gonna go. Like I'm just not gonna swing on something that's like, especially when it comes to a horror movie. Like I'm not gonna swing on a horror movie that's like not 85 minutes. Like, it's not gonna happen with me. And I don't know, like, I just really need to like, it's got to have either some hook in the story, or it's got to be somebody who like I think is great. Like it's kind of like, I don't know, if Ben Wheatley makes another horror movie, I'm gonna watch I'm gonna watch what Ben Wheatley does. Like I'll watch. I mean, especially after X and Pearl, whatever Ty West does, I'll watch that now.
So final thoughts on Evil Dead. So what do you think like going forward with this franchise? Like because obviously they've left it open.
Yeah.
If I don't know, you're a huge fan of Evil Dead, what do you think they should do? I mean, what are your thoughts?
I think my thoughts on Evil Dead, like the future going forward, I think it's like take some of the money away. I think it's get somebody young, get like, I don't know, like get somebody young, give it to just like break it out of the same people who've been kind of telling the Evil Dead stories. I obviously always want Rami and Tappert and Bruce Campbell's like hands on it, but like I just think that like I think putting restrictions back on it in terms of like money, I think the money especially would be like, make it all practical, make it for, again, and I know movies don't really get made that way anymore, but like, make it for $1 million. Don't, like.
No, I think, I completely agree with that. I think a huge budget is like the worst thing you could do to a horror movie.
Oh god, yeah.
Especially with how they make the monsters now. Like the monsters now, they're all, like you said, they're always CGI, and I don't. the CGI work can work for a lot of stuff, especially like the Marvel movies or whatever. But like, I feel like anytime you do it in like a horror movie, it just comes across as very, very fake.
Yeah, totally.
No matter how much money you put into it. So I completely think about that. I'm wondering if they'll ever get. I don't know. What if they'll ever get like Ryan Reynolds or something to be? I feel like he would have like the. I feel like if Bruce Campbell was like, I'm never coming back as Ash, that would probably be like the closest guy to at least have that sense of humor.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like if I was, so if I mean, I think I would go slightly the other way. If you're gonna make, if you're gonna get some modern actor for me to put him in like an Evil Dead movie, like I would go, oof, I mean like, I would go Charlie Kelly, like from Always Sunny, like I could see Charlie Kelly really nailing that sort of like slapstick, but also like can be kind of intense and scary.
Yeah,
Like,
get. I don't know. Yeah, Charlie Kelly, I can see getting a lot of like physicality stunts getting done to him because if you're gonna do this movie, you need a guy who can do that shit.
yeah,
Because yeah, Bruce Campbell got the shit knocked out of him doing these movies.
yeah, yeah. I mean, like I think that like yeah. I mean, there's just different ways to go with it. You know, like I think that's it. Like I think that you could yeah, but like I said, I think number one, you know, take some of that money away. Put some restrictions on the shit.
That'd be, you know what? That's a fucking great idea, man. I wish a lot of horror movies would do that. Like I said, I think it, save those budgets for like the Marvel stuff and just horror movies. That seem like a lot of people like to do them because they're cheap to make anyhow.
Yeah,
I think one of my favorite newer movies is Insidious, and I think they did all that like the first one, and I think they did most of that movie with all practical effects. That's
I haven't seen that one.
It's a great movie. I love that movie. Again, it scared the shit out of me when I first seen it, but I ate half of a fucking edible that our friend Mike Harwood made.
Oh, nice.
Mike, miss you, man. Where the fuck you at?
Yeah, right. Miss you too, Mike. It's been way too long.
Yeah, come on, dude.
Yeah, I mean that is a whole. I mean, like is now like weed's legal in Jersey, weed's legal in Delaware. Like I will say that like, man, for as many times as I've seen The Thing, I watched The Thing like a year ago, about give or take, like way too stoned, and it was harrowing. Again, and I've seen that movie a million times, and I was just like, I'm kind of sick to my stomach. Like this is all too much, and it's like so. There is that. I think the upshot of legal weed is that like even some of your old favorites that you are super comfortable with can now scare the fuck out of you again.
Better be careful. I think there was one time I was really high and I was really young and I watched The Thing and like seeing the dogs get like taken over that scene, like I was very emotionally upset.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
I was like, the dogs, man. Like, yeah, it fucked me up, man. I think I was like 14.
Yeah.
Well, that about wraps it up here at the Marvel of Horror. Andy, thanks again for joining us.
Thanks for having me, man.
Follow us on YouTube at the Marvel of Horror Podcast. We are on Instagram. We are on Spotify, apparently. More to that to come. And we will see you next time. Thanks again. Like, subscribe, leave your comments below. Thanks a lot.